Please can you remind me if you'll be so kind, staring out into space, asking God to hear my case, trying to think of all things past. How long will my memory last? The purple angel, purple angel, purple angel, you're next to me.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to Alzheimer Speaks Radio. I'm your host, Lori LeBay, and I am thrilled to be kicking off another year doing our program here. And so for those of you that are new to our show, basically our focus here is all about shifting our dementia care culture from crisis to comfort around the world. And we do that by raising everyone's voice, because everybody's got a story to tell, or a service, or a product, or idea, and we need to hear them all in order to make life better for people living with dementia and their families and communities. So again, thank you for joining. I see we've got lots of callers for open mic. So I'm just going to get the introductions out of the way here, kind of the setup, because I know we've got a lot of new listeners today as well. For those of you that don't know me, my mom had dementia for 30 years, so that means I lived with it for 30 years as well. And she just taught me so many beautiful life lessons. And I think it's just so important that we listen to the people with dementia, because, you know, they know what is needed. They know what's missing. They know what's working. So we have to have these conversations. We have to talk with the care partners that are taking care of them. Their voice is equally important, as well as the professionals and researchers and so many others out there. So again, we're all about raising everyone's voice, and we're also here to help companies increase their brand footprint through our content. Alzheimer Speaks not only has a radio show, but we have a blog, a YouTube channel, all different types of things. I do speaking and training around the country as well. So before I start pulling in callers, I have to give everybody a thank you for an amazing 2019. And first, I have to thank my mother, Dorothy, who, if it wasn't for her being diagnosed with dementia, I would not be doing the work that I'm doing. And I sure as heck wouldn't have met all of the fabulous people around the world that I've been so honored to meet, who are shifting our dementia care from crisis to comfort. It's really, truly been an honor and a joy. I also want to thank our Alzheimer Speaks community for all your likes and shares and follows. You are true raving fans, and you have helped really shift our dementia care all around the world by just all of these things that take just a few seconds. These likes, these clicks and shares are powerful, and you are helping millions of people find the services, products, tools, and support that they need. So again, can't thank you enough there. And of course, those of you who took time to be on the show and share your knowledge and your perspectives with us, we'd be nothing without you. So thank you for joining us a couple of times a week to gather information and to be able to push it out. And then, of course, there's the true experts in dementia, who I believe are those diagnosed and living with this disease on a minute-to-minute basis, and they're willing to participate and help push out this fascinating conversation. We do a thing called Dementia Chats, too, and if any of you out there living with dementia would like to be part of that, it's just a panel of people that I facilitate, and they give us all kinds of great ideas, tips, and tools there. So thank you all who are courageous and brave enough to step into the spotlight and let your voice be heard. You're making a miraculous difference out there. I also need to thank Arthur's Memory Cafe, which is sponsored by Arthur's Senior Living and ACR Homes. And, you know, Arthur's was the first memory cafe in in the U.S. And, when I say first, it's not patting us on the back, but I just get really excited about sharing ideas. And now we have over 800 of them in the U.S. And this is a concept that was given to us from the UK. And again, just a powerful, powerful thing of what sharing can do in the lives that can be impacted. And so if you're looking for a memory cafe, you can go to memorycafedirectory.com. And Dave has put the U.S. directory together. He's also doing other countries now. Or maybe you're facilitating a memory cafe and you want to get in the directory. It's free. So just go to memorycafedirectory.com. They'll get you all set up. I also want to thank all of the people that are collaborating and launching dementia-friendly movements around the world. Talk about fun and exciting. Again, a concept I personally learned about through the internet here, and was able to work with the Lutheran Home Association to launch the first one in Watertown, Wisconsin years ago, and it's fun to see how much it spread. I want to thank all the Purple Angel ambassadors spreading awareness and support along with comfort and resources. And if you're not part of that movement, you're going to want to check out the Purple Angel Project. You can go to alzheimerspeaks.com. Go to our projects and initiatives page and learn more about that there if you're in the U.S. Otherwise, when you go to that page, it'll direct you also if you are out of the country for information as well. I just have a few more thank yous to go, and then we'll get on to our conversation here. All of the people and organizations that have collaborated with me or hired me to speak or train or consult or just expand their brand awareness, again, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. It's just, I love what I do. I am the luckiest person on earth. So thank you. To all the care partners and the caregivers, carers, care companions, excuse me, who are meeting the need and are just being amazing examples of kindness and true good in our society. You play such an important role, and it doesn't make any difference if you are a family member, a friend, or a professional. You have huge impact, and never forget that. And then to all of the wonderful family and friends who continue to support me and lift me through my work and my personal life, I am so excited to see what 2020 brings. And let this be an amazing year for each and every one of us around the world. Let the kindness reign and lift us all up. Let us step aside from our own egos and focus on the true good, the greater good, the impact, because what's good for dementia is truly good for each and every one of us out there. So the last thing I have to do is I just promised I'd share a couple of events that are coming up. And on January 15th, I am going to be doing a presentation called Tools for Dementia Professionals at the Waters in White Bear Lake in Minnesota. And if you are interested in getting further information, just reach out to me on that. And then on January 30th, I will be doing a program called Why Families Act the Way They Do. And actually, that gives a two-sided perspective for staff to understand how they're acting as well. But this is meant for CEUs, and that'll be at Gable Pines in Vadnais Heights, Minnesota. I'll also be doing a webinar with the Greenhouse Project on January 30th. And then on February 19th, I'm going to be doing a webinar with Educate. And that is going to be a virtual road trip. So we have lots of people out here. So let me get started here. And I am going to pull in, I know this is Wanda because I had time to talk with her a little bit prior. Wanda, how are you doing today?
Oh, pretty good, Lori.
Pretty good. Why don't you tell people a little bit about yourself and why you decided to call in for open mic?
Okay, a little bit about myself. I am a Purple Angel ambassador and have been for about 7 years. My father had Alzheimer's, wasn't formally diagnosed. We knew he had it in, I'm going to say 85. formally diagnosed in '87. Technology in that back then was just terrible. Medications were wicked, and it was very, very hard on him. Dad passed in '96, and at that time I knew my mother was getting the beginning of Alzheimer's. So I look at it this way, that the good Lord had me go through it the first time so I could be twice as smart the second time. So I devoted my life to my mother and took care of her 24/7 until she went to heaven, and I held on to her and held her hand. I comforted her from all the blows. In the beginning, we were able to travel. I stopped my life. I quit my job. I got her to New York to see her great aunt, and she wanted to see Niagara Falls, and we did that. Got down to Georgia. Then she wanted to go to Nashville. That was within about 2 years we did the traveling, and then the disease started grabbing her. In the beginning, we didn't take the prescription medication right away. Took a lot of vitamins, made a lot of vitamin tinctures, and I started her on club moss, which is the herb that I got from China. And now, it was a couple of weeks ago, I Googled club moss. They're literally using that for Alzheimer's patients.
Wow, I've not heard of that.
Yeah, the research that I did, it dissipated the white matter that was taking over the brain.
Wow.
And I swear to God, Lori, I swear to God, that helped Mom for, I'm going to say, about 7 years.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Then, yeah. And during that time, then we did take the Alzheimer's medication. Mom had a grand mal seizure in my arms giving her a shower, and she was diagnosed with Parkinson's and seizure disorder. And this is shortly after we moved to our beautiful place up north here. And they said she'd never walk again, and they were giving up on her. Well, I didn't. And I got a treadmill, and I held her, and we walked, and I'll tell you what, she walked into that doctor's office 7 months later, and they couldn't believe it. And her dog, I literally have pictures of her dog would wait until I would tell Cody, okay, you can get on the treadmill, and dog walked with her.
Oh,
yeah.
Cute.
Yep.
Well, if people want to learn more about this herb, where is there a website that you suggest they go to, or
Google it, and then you want to make sure that it's a very pure one. With it, in the Googling, they're going to find where it says that, that it's dangerous and that it's, and I'll just leave it up to them to research and see what the amount is. I used to make Mom a shake every morning, and it's club moss. It actually looks like Italian seasoning.
Okay.
But there's something in that club moss that protects the brain.
Okay. Well, thank you for sharing that.
I swear by that stuff.
Thank you for sharing that. I here on Alzheimer's Speaks, we don't necessarily endorse anything, but I've always been a girl that I've liked to be able to pick my own options. And, if people don't share, then we can't have that choice. And so I appreciate you sharing your own personal story on this. And I know Michelle had talked about you being highly recommended and things too in terms of telling your story. So again, thank you so much. I'm going to go on to the next caller, but I appreciate you joining us today. So thank you.
Okay, Lori. And meanwhile, tell everybody to watch for my book. I journaled all those years taking care of Mom, and the book's name is going to be Lady Unafraid.
Lady Unafraid?
Correct.
Okay, wonderful. Well, you'll have to let me know when that comes out, and we can maybe do a show on your book as well. So thank you.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm going to go to a caller who is, last numbers are 9793. Are you still with us? 9793? You're live and on the air?
I sure am.
And who am I
I
speaking
sure
with?
am. Hi, Lori. It's Michelle Darwin from Windward Foundation.
Well, hi, Michelle. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Well, I'm doing absolutely fantastic. Why don't you tell everybody about your organization and what you're up to?
Sure. First of all, thank you so much for this opportunity, and thank you for all that you do, because I watch you so carefully and you inspire me in so many ways. And so thank you for all that you do. Like many of you, I am the daughter of a parent who passed away from Alzheimer's disease. When I was a young wife, many years ago, my grandmother was diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease, and my parents became her primary caregiver. And the family dynamics, the financial strain, all of it was just magnified because I was living far away, and my husband was in the Army at the time. And so, I watched my parents, who I had never seen raise their voices my entire life, begin to just fall apart. And my siblings and I wondered if that was going to be the demise of their marriage. It was just so very stressful. So then fast forward to my dad. He started showing signs of Alzheimer's disease, and then he received his official diagnosis. And I took a pretty big role as a primary caregiver for my dad, along with my mom. But my mom at the time was really struggling with denial, and she just didn't know what to do, so she just didn't do much of anything. And so I kind of took that role, and I lived through what so many of us do, just watching Alzheimer's tear apart a person and sometimes a family. So my brother and I, after my dad passed away, we co-founded a nonprofit foundation called Windward Foundation. We're headquartered in Herndon, Virginia, which is right outside of D.C. And the mission of our foundation is to help ease the burden of caregiving for a loved one with Alzheimer's disease, the family caregiver, the unpaid caregiver. And we do that through education, respite, and community. So we've been doing this for a couple of years. At first it was a part-time thing, now it's a full-time thing, and we've ramped up. We do a lot of caregiver education in the Washington, D.C. area, Northern Virginia, Maryland, D.C. We host and support several memory cafes with music programs that provide respite to the caregiver and their loved one. And we're growing a community of family caregivers so that they can, provide support to each other. And it's wonderful. We have so many, our strategic mission has so much happening for us in the future, and we're just plugging away one day at a time, trying to build this to what we want to see it be.
Well, that's fantastic. I mean, we need so much support in all of the areas that you're focusing on. I hear people all around the world basically saying the same thing is, a cure is nice, but we need care now. And we can't wait for it to just completely go away. We need support and services. And so, boy, you're really jumping into the thick of things and making a great difference. So I so appreciate that. Do you want to give your website out if people maybe they want to donate or learn more about what it is you're doing?
Absolutely. We can be found at windwardfoundation.org. That's WINDWARD foundation.org. That's our website. Information can be like email. My email, I'll just give my own email actually, is Michelle, I have one L, MICHELE.DARWIN@windward.com.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for taking time to share with us today. I really appreciate it, Michelle.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to pull in the next caller now. I've got somebody at a number 6301. 6301. Are you with us?
I am.
And who am I speaking with?
This is Mary.
And Mary, wonderful. And Mary, where are you from?
I am in the greater Boston area.
Okay, great. And why did you decide to call in today, Mary?
Well, I have a suggestion for people that is working so well for us. My husband is in a memory care unit right now. That's a fairly new thing. And he was in the hospital with some serious kinds of things. He's now out. But my daughter put on Facebook asking people who knew him that might have a memory of him, that they would send him a card with a memory that was precious to them or something. And he has been getting those cards. I have a lovely box that someone gave me that I put them in. And, of course, he doesn't remember ever hearing the same letter or card over and over again, but he so enjoys the memories that people have. And it's a no-brainer, I suppose. You know, people did respond, and if there are 3 or 4 letters, then I read them every day to him. So sometimes it's after breakfast, sometimes it's whatever time I have that I can be down there. And I've told the people in the memory care that if they are looking for something to do with him, here's the box. You could read the letter or card to him. And it really makes a difference. It's a connection that is really quite special. So if anybody wants to take the idea and run with it, it's been wonderful for my husband and actually for me too. I'm hearing stories that I didn't know.
Oh, how that is neat. I know when my mom had dementia, my dad had brain cancer, and you're right. There is a period when people share and you hear things that you never would have heard before. But you need to do that ask, and it's very important. I actually created a tool called Your Memory Chip, which is a form that asks people, because a lot of times when they come to visit too, they don't know what to say or what to do, and it's a form that allows them to put a picture on, tell a little bit about the picture, and then just leave it there so it can be relived over and over and over. And then it's cool what you're doing, because now they're coming in the mail, and that can, people can receive that anywhere. And I love that you're saving them in a box, so it's not a one-time thing. You really are preserving, and you're finding those moments of joy and just letting them replay over and over. That's just a really cool concept. I'm so glad you called in and shared that with us, Mary. Thank you. Thank you very much.
I hope it will work for someone else. It's been really fun for both of us.
Well, great. Well, thank you, and best of luck to the two of you on your journey. And feel free to call in anytime on Open Mic. We always love to hear people's ideas. So again, Mary from the greater Boston area, thank you so much for calling in.
All right. Thank you.
Next, I'm going to pull in somebody, and the last numbers of their phone are 1157. So 1157. 1157. Are you there?
Hi, Lori. This is Van from Educate Training Institute.
Oh, wonderful. I talked with Pam today, and she said that you would probably be calling in. Yeah, because we were talking about doing one of your virtual road trip webinars, which I'm excited to be part of. But why don't you tell people a little bit about Educate and what all you're up to?
I will, thank you. So Educate Training Institute is, we are a training company. We have programs for training of caregivers and people that are primarily professional caregivers, although our programs can be used with family caregivers as well. So we are based in Texas, in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and we do training all over the country and starting to be in other parts of the world as well. We have 2 primary programs. We are the creators and providers of Dementia Live, which is a dementia simulation experience. it is an opportunity for people to actually be in the world of someone living with dementia in order for them to better understand what that world is actually like. So they get the opportunity to experience some of the symptoms of dementia and then for a very brief time try to function with those symptoms. So it's an incredibly eye-opening experience for, and it's great for anyone and everyone, for care providers, for healthcare professionals, for families, for people in the community that might encounter someone with dementia, which is really all of us. It's wonderful for first responders. Anyway, it's an incredibly rich program that serves lots and lots of needs. As well, our other program is called Compassionate Touch. And Compassionate Touch is using skilled touch and communication to help prevent behavioral expression in people with dementia and those at end of life. So it's recognizing the touch deprivation that especially people with dementia experience because people are don't always understand how to build those connections and those relationships with people with dementia. And touch is a vital part of that and something that many in our aging communities are not getting and are actually experiencing touch deprivation. And so it's a program to know how to use that and techniques that can be used to build those connections with people, because those connections are what can make the care better and stronger. So again, it's for professional cares, but it is wonderful for families, for volunteers, anyone that knows or spends time with someone with dementia. So those are two of our main programs. We have had the opportunity to receive some civil monetary program grants so that we're able to go out into some states and take one or both of these programs into nursing facilities, Medicaid and Medicare facilities, and we have the program is currently in Australia. We're beginning it in Canada, and we are growing and really passionate about changing the culture of care for those living with dementia in our communities.
Oh, that is absolutely fantastic, and I love that you have those grant funds, so that people can really pick up these skill sets and have a better understanding. I love the virtual tours that you do, because people don't really understand what it's like, and it's very, very powerful. And the compassionate touch, I use the phrase multisensory engagement. And I just don't think people understand the importance of such little things like touching someone's shoulder or cheek or holding a hand. And, as we age, we touch less and less. And especially for people who are placed, or living in a community of their own doing or not, it doesn't make any difference. Things just change, and yet that really can fill the soul. How do people get a hold of Educate?
So our website is ageukate.com, and that's AGEUCATE, ageukate.com. And you can go there and find information on all of our programs. You can also find our phone number there, as well as where all of our staff is listed on there. So I'm on there. My business email address is Van. That's V, like Victor, ANN @ageukate.com. And we would love to share more information on our programs and where they are, and if other people are interested in becoming providers of our programs or just learning more about it, we'd love to talk to them.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to share with us today, Van. And again, check out Educate. They're really doing some fabulous work around the world, and there's no reason they can't come to your neck of the woods. So
Absolutely.
Go to their website and check them out. Thank you again, Van.
Great. Thanks, Lori.
Next,
We appreciate it.
thank you. Next, I'm going to go to a 3052 number, 3052. Are you with me?
Hi, Lori. This is Nancy Connor.
Oh, hi, Nancy. How are you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
I am doing fabulous. I'm gearing up for 2020, and it seems like it's going to be an awful fast pace this year. So why don't you share with people a little bit about your story and what you're up to?
Okay, thanks, and Happy New Year. So I wanted to share, I met Lori, I guess, about a year and a half ago at an Alzheimer's Association meeting. And what brought me to the meeting is I have multiple family members who had Alzheimer's and dementia. My father, 2 grandparents, my father's sister, and my father needed help with dressing. He struggled with dressing after breaking his hip multiple times. And the nurses and aides didn't want to take time to dress my dad in his desired attire of button-down shirts and slacks. So they put him in sweatpants and sweatshirts, and I thought there has to be a better way for people to have their dignity, confidence, independence, and ease of dressing for the caregiver and individuals. So I left my career in corporate America after 25 years and started a clothing business called Smart Adaptive Clothing, and we use Velcro for fasteners on the blouses and shirts. So the blouses and shirts look traditional with buttons out front, but we actually use Velcro to fasten, so it's really easy.
Well, and you've really, when I first met you, you had kind of one basic style, but you've expanded now, it looks like, from that last I saw, which is very exciting. And they look freshly pressed and just perfect, and, it's not it isn't, I think, what people would expect when they think of Velcro, because it is a really classy look that you've designed, which is really nice.
Well, thanks.
So go ahead.
That's okay. I was just going to say thank you. I appreciate that. That's exactly what I want for people, that they feel stylish and feel good about themselves or their family member or someone in the community if you're in a professional setting.
Yeah, and this is something that can make a great gift, and, it just makes life easier for everyone. I remember when my mom would get really frustrated as she progressed in the disease, and, we had trouble from everything from, putting on shirts because she didn't have the fine motor skills to do things, and even putting on bras was just a very difficult task, for her to do. And I would have loved to have had, because we ended up going everything pullover, and she was always a little bit more casual. If I remember correctly, your dad was always more in a business attire and things. And I loved how you saw the need and wanted to preserve his dignity and created this concept. I think it's just a wonderful company that you've designed, and helping many, many people out there. Are you looking at doing any expansion other than shirts, or are you going to kind of stay in that mode?
We are going to expand. So I wanted to start in the shirts and blouses and, develop a brand that people realize is out there to help them, help with quality of life, and establish that with different designs and contrasting designs that are fun. So our next phase will be slacks for men and women. So I don't have a horizon yet. I don't have a timeline. It will happen in 2020. But we would like to have something like a khaki pant and jeans, because I get that request every day, along with the undergarments, as you mentioned. So, it's literally from babies to seniors and everything in between. So I'm starting slowly, so I scale it and build it properly. So phase 2 will be slacks.
Okay, wonderful. Well, and the other thing, this show is on dementia and caregiving, but there are so many people that are dealing just with arthritis, and we don't really even consider that. It's just something people have learned to live with. over time. But a product like this can just make their life so much easier. Somebody who's lost fine motor skills, maybe because of a stroke. And again, it could be dementia related or not. It doesn't really make any difference. But it not only can help the person who's got the diagnosis, but the care partner in terms of the ease of the dressing. I remember with my mom, it had to be simple, or she would get frustrated, and then it would take us twice as long to do anything. And so I think people have to look at it from both sides as well, in terms of it's helping the whole process, and it's helping the dignity and just people feeling comfortable in their own skin and feeling like they fit in. I think it's tremendously important, especially in this day and age. So thank you so much for calling in. You want to give people contact information so they can learn more about your company, Smart Adaptive Clothing?
Thank you. Yes, that would be great. So our website is smartadaptiveclothing.com, and the same for Facebook and Instagram, smartadaptiveclothing.com. And we would be happy to help you. We're so thrilled to know and work with Lori. Thanks for all of your help in making our lives easier. We really appreciate you. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. And thanks for taking the time to call in, and keep me posted. So when your slacks are ready to launch, we can help lift you up more there, because it is something that people need to know about. And, one of the things I found in caring for my folks is you don't know what you don't know. So you don't even know what's out there to look for it a lot of times. And Google has made that a little bit easier, but it's still one of those things, you don't know what you don't know. And there's not a whole way around that unless we share information like we're doing today, and we continue to lift other people up and just share the knowledge. It doesn't do any good just keeping it in a little safety deposit box. we have to let others know about what resources are there to help. So thank you so much for calling in today, Nancy. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Lori.
Thanks. I'm going to call in next. We've got another caller on the line, and they are 0339. Let me see if I can pull you up here. My computer is spinning a hair. There, it looks like we've got you. And who is 0339?
Hello.
Hi.
That's
and
me. My name is Arthena. Caston. I'm calling you from Macon, Georgia.
Okay, wonderful. And what brought you to call in today?
Actually, I had a friend who's a friend of yours, Michelle. I started speaking with her last week, or this weekend. I met her, and she wanted me to call in and let you know and just talk. I actually am 54. I was diagnosed with early onset dementia at 51, 3 years ago.
Okay.
So I'm living that dream, as they call it, every day.
Well, I'm so glad you called in, because I'm all about raising the voice of those diagnosed. And please know you are, I don't know if you do a lot with the computer or not, but I have a thing called Dementia Chats, where I actually facilitate a conversation with a panel of people with dementia. And we just pick a topic and we talk about it. And we've talked about, you name it, we've talked about it. We've talked about pets and care partners and dementia-friendly communities and pain and depression and you name it, all kinds of things. And we would love to have you join us. If you're interested, maybe reach out to me on Facebook, and I can add you to my list. And
I'd be happy to. I'd be happy to.
We'd love to have you be part. Do you mind sharing with us how you felt when you got your diagnosis and what made you go to the doctor?
It was kind of strange. I actually had been working in the insurance industry for about 20 years. And all of a sudden, things that I had known forever, I just didn't know. It was harder and getting harder and harder for me to do claims and things such as that. And I just told my husband, I said, I can feel my personality, because I've always had a real bubbly type personality, always been able to talk to anybody. I just felt like I was beginning to forget things, but it was not that it was, I knew that something was wrong because I just didn't feel well. And so I automatically started thinking, I better check into this, because my father had Alzheimer's, and 6 of his brothers and sisters had it. So, but they had it in a later stage, like at stage 70, 75. So I wasn't really concerned too much about the Alzheimer's at first. And then, as I said, as the time went on, and I just couldn't seem to get myself together. And then the craziest thing was that every time I would go to a doctor, he would just say, "Oh, I think you're just going through menopause," or that type thing. And that went on for 3.5 years. But me knowing myself more than anybody, I knew that it was more than menopause that I was going through. So I finally went to 2 or 3 doctors, went to a neurologist, to a neurosurgeon, and they finally told me, yeah, that's what it is.
Wow.
So
my mom was told for 10 years that it was menopause.
Oh.
And, that was, she's been gone 5 years now. She lived with it for 30. And, and my mom would always say, "This ain't my girlfriend's menopause." she just knew, she talked with her friends, and her symptoms were very different and very distinct. And yet she could not, for the life of her, get anybody to believe her. And so that was extremely frustrating as a family, needless to say, and for her. And then, we took her in for testing. And when they did the testing, they did the 10-question test. Well, that day she had a really good day, and she passed with flying colors. And then she really didn't want to talk about it anymore, because she said she didn't have it because she passed. And then my dad ended up with brain cancer, and Mom had definitely progressed, and we said, we've got to get her in there's got to be some other kind of testing out there. And so they did do that, and then it came back, oh, she's got the mentality of a 3-year-old, don't let her out of your sight. We're like, oh, thanks so much.
Wow.
So it was pretty drastic change, but she lived a really good life the majority of those 3 years. It was probably the last 4 that were, more the final stages and much more limiting in terms of what she could do. How did your family react to your diagnosis?
My husband had, we talk about it because we travel a lot for the Alzheimer's Association. I'm with the ESAG, Early Stage Alzheimer's Advisory Group. So we travel a lot talking about it. And so he said that he pretty much knew that something was going on. My daughter was planning a wedding. It was so strange because my son-in-law was in Afghanistan and my daughter was in California. They were both Air Force. And I was trying to plan a wedding for them in Charleston, South Carolina. And she would say, "Well, I told you to do this, Mom." And she just kept saying, "Well, did you do it? Did you do it?" And I had just totally forgot about doing some of the things so we ended up having to get a planner. But it was just little things like that just kept saying, oh. So when my daughter when they finally gave him the diagnosis, my husband was in shock, but he was, I'm sure as any other husband, he was hurt because he didn't know, what he would do. But he'd always said, and always told me, he'd always said, I was put on this earth to take care of you. And so you don't think that you're going to be taking care of somebody at age 51. That's not something that you think about. My daughters took a little harder because they remember their grandfather having it. So, like I said, every day is a new day. I do live, as I said, joyfully with it. My job is to show people that you can, even with Alzheimer's, even with dementia, that doesn't just put you at a stopping point, that you can continue to move on and grasp life and keep moving with it and be happy with that. And that's what I do.
That's a wonderful, wonderful message. And I think so many people, they go to the doctor, and the doctors aren't very hopeful most of the time. And they believe them. They believe this is, just prepare for the end. And, we're seeing more and more how long people are living with this disease and can live a good life with it if they choose to focus on that and not get sucked down kind of the depression hole, which can easily happen. It's not an easy disease. I don't mean to downplay that at all, but there are so many opportunities, and especially nowadays too, when finally socially we're talking about it, and
Yes.
it's out in the open. It's not hidden in the closet, and there are support groups, and well, look at you. You're out there touring and speaking and giving a new face to the disease. And I remember here, I'm in Minnesota. We'd go down to the legislators, and I remember one year just pulling them aside and saying, you got to change the face of who this is. And the next year that they did, they really changed the face, because it wasn't just a bunch of old people in wheelchairs that couldn't communicate anymore. And that's really the message that had been sent out for so long, that it was only the very old and the very frail that got dementia. And I love to see so many young active people out there speaking and changing the world. And
we try really hard.
Yeah, I'm going to ask you what might sound like a silly question, but I've heard this from so many people diagnosed who kind of step into that advocacy role and say, well, this is the hand I'm dealt. This is how I'm going to play the game. And I've heard from so many that they say that they feel so purposeful in a way that they never did before having the disease.
That's what I've been actually told. I do feel when people talk to me now, and especially because I actually, with me being not only African American, being a young woman, my role, I feel, is to reach out to my community. My role is to reach out to women and let them know. Number one, when the first article that was written about me in my hometown newspaper said she is the new face of Alzheimer's. And everybody just thought, this cannot be. Because, again, like you said, you're looking at an older person. You're not thinking of anybody as young as I am. But I feel so deep down, every time I give a speech, every time I talk to someone, every time me and my husband speak at a conference, that we walk away with people who come to us after and say, thank you for letting us know that I shouldn't be ashamed. I felt like I knew something was wrong. So it does, whether I reach one person or whether I reach 50 persons, I let them all know, don't be ashamed. That stigma that you're carrying or that is out there, there's no need for that. Let's just move on and enjoy every day. Every day.
Agree. And, you being African American, we need a lot more of your voices to be heard. Same with the Asian community. And, because people don't understand, they don't understand the reach. They don't understand the cultural differences. And I'm not pretending that I understand them all either. But we need to have these conversations of how and why. And, I'm a girl that likes to focus on our similarities versus our differences. But in terms of learning about differences, it just expands our knowledge, and it makes us, I think, more compassionate people. And I think we can serve better when people speak in an authentic voice. And, to me, inclusion is just everything. We need to expand that net. And instead of people feeling trapped in the net, feeling like, hey, no, come fishing with us, be on the other side. And that sounds like kind of a goofy thing to say, but I think a lot of times people are afraid of being trapped or being more stigmatized and being caught in the net. And what you're really doing is breaking down barriers. So I thank you so much for calling in. And I'm going to reach out to you on Facebook and see about if you're interested in joining us for the Dementia Chats. I'd love to have you.
I'd be happy to. I really do. Like I said, it's just the more people that you talk to, get more people talking, it'll be the easier it gets and the better it gets. So if you reach out, I'll be happy to answer and be a part of your chat at any time.
Okay, sounds good. And do you want to give people contact information for you on Facebook or email? Sometimes people are comfortable with that, other times they're not. And so I don't want you to feel pressured one way or the other.
Oh no, that's fine because they can always find me. I'm like I said, I'm with the early stage advisory group for the Alzheimer's Association, or you can my email or my Facebook information is Arthena Arthena, last name Caston Caston.
Wonderful. Well, thank you again so much for calling in and sharing. And thank Michelle for me. I just love her to death, and she is just such an amazing woman. Her and I have not met yet physically.
Oh, she's powerful. She is.
Yep. But we will one of these days. So again, thank you for calling in. I'm going to go to our next caller online here. I can't believe our hour is almost up. This person is a 0966. Are you there?
I'm here. Hi, Lori.
Hi, and who am I speaking with?
This is I'm Raymond Stanton, Ray Stanton from Chicago, and actually Michelle Wilson is who first contacted me, and I did a couple speaking engagements with her on Chicago South Side. And I'm about to start doing some more work with the Alzheimer's Association here in Chicago.
Wonderful. Now, are you a musician? Why am I thinking you're a musician, or else? Because you introduced me to a couple of people.
No, I do work with an organization that works with children on the South Side. That's I'm on the board of directors that does theater and dance, and I'm an artist, but worn a lot of different hats in my life. But
okay.
being the person to make the decisions and care for my mother has certainly been a different hat than any of the others.
Mm-hmm. And
so
I was just going to say, if you can expand on that a little bit, that'd be great.
Yeah, my mother, one of the things that initially was really difficult for me is that my mother is IQ untestable. She's 87 years old now. She is probably the most intelligent person I've ever known in my life. And so, the having Alzheimer's affect her mental capabilities was a difficult thing. The first challenge I really encountered was, people talk about this thing they call therapeutic lying, and I just couldn't do it. Initially, in terms of, and, I used avoidance techniques instead when she would talk about wanting to go, back to the house. And, the other thing that was difficult was my mother had been bipolar. And so I had a really privileged childhood, and I also had a childhood with, with abuse in it. And I moved back to Chicago 35 years after leaving and living in the Cincinnati area to help take care of her. I had a lot of personal loss and grief in my own life, and I moved back up here. I kept her in her home in about an hour and a half from the house I grew up in, which is I'm in now. And when she, I kept her in her home for a couple of years with nursing, and then it became evident she had to go to a care facility. And the beginning was just awful. I would go there, and she would be in high gear, happy when I arrived, but when I would go to leave, it would trigger her. And I'm an only child. My mother would tell me that she hoped I knew that she hated me, and she prayed that I would die and go to hell. It was just horrible things, and used words that I've never heard her use. And we, the whole thing with this journey is that you just don't know what's around the corner. And, you kind of think you get your footing and you learn techniques, and then suddenly everything changes. At one point, they sent her to the north suburbs of Chicago to a psych ward for evaluation because she had refused to take a med. And the new med that they put her on, because they could kind of slip it in, was Resperdal. And that made a world of positive change. That's allowed, I'm really grateful that that's allowed my mother and I to just appreciate each other. And I haven't had to listen to that other stuff. They talk about caregivers taking care of themselves. Wow. My blood pressure was rising 10 points a week at a certain point, and I had 2 TIAs. And, I actually had to stop. The nursing home said, you can't come and visit your mom 3 days a week, drive an hour and a half from Chicago, and vomit in the parking lot every time before you leave. I mean, it was really getting to me. So I'm blessed and happy that, we got to a point that's just pure love and appreciation for one another. I would say that for me, one of the things that, obviously that was a huge component. But in terms of my own personal journey, I would say what helped a lot was compassion. I work a lot on Chicago's South Side. I work with children. I'm very much a justice warrior. And, that having been said, I would say I always have been, for the underdog. I've always been a champion for the underdog. My mother became the underdog. There was so much sadness that I felt over what I saw happening with her. And I was able to so much, put myself in her shoes. And I think if you can remember that they were young once, they had their whole lives, hopes and dreams ahead of them, that can be a really helpful tool to compassion and forgiveness. And at that point, I was able to really move on with, the trying to make every moment with her positive and happy for her and create good memories for myself. And
that's wonderful.
So that's been an important thing. Right now, she's under hospice care, congestive heart failure, as well as the Alzheimer's, and we're probably looking at, who knows, short period of time. But how grateful am I that we found our way to a place where, now my mother, it's weird. I can be with her all day and walk out in the hallway for 5 minutes and walk back in the room, and she's like surprised to see me. However, she hasn't lost the ability to have amazing conversations about things that happened to her in the 50s and the 60s and the 70s, and she remembers everything. So this disease is, it's just, you have to learn to go with the flow. But I think first of all, you have to, find a way to, like I say, for me, it was compassion. It was compassion and forgiveness. And that came from, really remembering that she was not always this way. And that's sad. And it took that sadness for me to really be able to not take things personally and kind of turn the situation around. One of the talks that I did, I made 30-inch posters I had a couple pictures of her when she was not in a good place. And then I had 2 of her wedding pictures from 1954. And wow, the people in the audience, I mean, I got done with that talk, and everyone came up to me and said, "Oh my gosh, you made us laugh. Then you made us cry. Then you made us laugh. Then you made us cry again." And I thought afterwards, wow, that's pretty much how being a caregiver to someone with Alzheimer's goes. There's up and down.
Well, and I think it's really important to give people permission to express their feelings. That's what I do. I call it emotional based training, because I don't think we can expect others to be that authentic and be that vulnerable if we're not ourselves, if we're not talking through an authentic voice. So I so appreciate the work that you're doing and the sharing of the journey. Our hour is up here, so I have to cut you off, but we will do more of these open mics. I know Reverend Jeanette Jordan had just written in as well, and
she's amazing.
Yeah, and I don't even have time to read what all she has. But I guess last, Ray, did you want to give a contact information out really quick for yourself at all, or can people find you on Facebook?
Yeah, on Facebook. I'm on Facebook under Raymond Stanton.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you so much, everybody. And we will talk soon. Bye now.
Hi, everyone. This is Meredith from the Senior Fitness with Meredith podcast, where I discuss all things for seniors, from fitness, your health and wellness journeys, how to be all over strong and beyond. I also have my mini podcast called Motivation with Meredith. It's a great, quick motivational pick-me-up for your days. Join me, listen now, search for Senior Fitness with Meredith on your favorite podcast platform.